All right, and welcome back to the Pendulum Podcast. I am here with member and friend Brian Perry.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
Chilling, man. Chilling.
I am so glad to have you here. I was recently in New York, and I was asking Astrid, I was like, hey, who would you like to hear on the podcast? And she goes, I think Brian Perry would be awesome. And I was like, yes.
That makes one of us, man. I don't find myself that interesting.
So, yeah, I'm really excited to have you on because as we're going through this and we're getting to know our members and experience their stories, you have a really interesting story, at least to me, because I've been able to be a part of that. You've been now a member for 4 years.
Ooh,
Because you joined in 15.
Yeah.
In December of 15, and last year you just passed 4 years.
Yeah, man. That's crazy, man. Half my son's life.
Right? Yeah. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised St. Louis, Missouri. Grew up in a house with my mom, my aunt, my grandmother, my cousins. I was the only boy to, like, at any given point, 8 to 10 women and me. So when college came around, I definitely wanted to move away for college and get my own little space. So I went to University of Missouri, where I majored. I majored in poetry, which, you know, it's a whole other podcast. I went there intending to major in interior design. Loved English all my life, and just decided to run with that. And then made the decision to teach, which is also something I wanted to do since I was a third grader.
Okay.
Yeah, and just kind of made choices right before college to kind of pursue money. And in college, decided that it wasn't worth it. So switched my major to English, made sure that I had a route to teaching. So I decided to join Teach for America. Mm-hmm. So I'm in mid-Missouri. I get shipped to Miami for Teach for America. So
I mean, there are far worse places to be sent to.
This is true. But, you know, 22 years old, my first own apartment away from home in Miami. Again, that's a whole other podcast. So I taught in Miami, taught high school. Some of my students were like 19 years old. I was 22, so it was a very small gap in age. Taught high school for 3 years, moved to Connecticut for a year, taught there. While I was in Connecticut, met my future wife. We moved to LA together. And once in LA, I taught for a school network, teaching fifth grade for 4 years, then moved to my current network where I became assistant principal and now principal of 10 to 14-year-olds.
And where's that at?
It's in the Valley at a school called Valor Academy in North Hills.
And you're the principal of that school?
Yeah, believe it or not, man. Yeah, they put me in charge.
So I want to first kind of put you on the spot. Uh-oh. And we'll get into some of the stuff later, like some of the fun things, like your sport teams. But until that moment, and I want to know what you would do differently with our education system in America.
Oh, man. That's a deep question. I mean, I think that education is such a deeper issue than just the schools themselves. Like, if you want to change education, you have to go back and change housing policy, go back and change how we fund education, right? We fund education through, and especially in states like California, through taxes, which makes it pretty, it makes it fluctuate a lot on how much you can bring into a school system. That's why LAUSD struggles. But yeah, I mean, the way our country structured our system of education is a system that was built to be unequal. So you kind of have to destroy it from the ground up and rebuild it. Right now, we're still seeing that if you grow up in a certain community, like your chance of having a decent education is drastically different than someone who has the same ability, same opportunities. Just because of the neighborhood you grew up in, you just don't have access to the same degree of education. So, if I was going to change anything, I would start with the neighborhood, start with people, make those things equal, and then that will lead to us having a more equal education system.
Do you think that specifically in our area, because there are a lot more charter schools, at least in Pasadena that I'm aware of, yours isn't in Pasadena, but are charter schools hurting, helping? Where do they fit in this equation?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of like misconceptions about what we do in charters, and charters don't. I think people feel that charters put other schools steal students from other schools, have those schools closing. But that's not necessarily the case. Like we receive half the funding of a traditional school. That funding, the other half of the funding that we don't receive, goes back to the public schools. We are very small, so even if we were taking students from schools, it wouldn't really hurt their bottom line. Essentially, what charters are is an opportunity to be free of the bureaucracy of how schools operate, some of the things that make schools unequal. So, for a good example would be the fact that I'm the principal of a school at my age, and looking how I look, like I wouldn't have the same opportunity if I didn't work in a system that really stretches outside the boundaries to hire the right people, to bring in people who are mission driven, and to be able to make changes when things aren't going well. Like if you think my job as principal is very different than a job as principal in a traditional school. I get to hire my teachers and hire people who align to what we believe. I get to hire my assistant principals and find people who align to what I believe. And so just little things like that, to put that into terms of any other industry. Imagine having to run a business where you couldn't hire anybody, like where someone just sent people to your schools or to your business. And so I think that charters are not the big evil that they're made out to be sometimes. They're just another option.
Right.
We should be treated as such.
And that is something that we hear, at least from Pasadena Unified, right? That all the charter schools, all the private schools are hurting the process here in Pasadena, when that isn't the case. You have to look at the housing market here in Pasadena and how high that cost to get into a starter home is. As somebody who is trying to work towards getting into a starter home here in Pasadena, at $750,000, that's a starter home, right? And a fixer-upper to be a part of that. And you have families that may have both parents working, right? And they're still maybe just crossing $100K if they're lucky, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, like, they want to be able to have a home. They can't afford the home because the rent is too damn high. And it just is, we have that, and it's like, how can we help people get past that, right? How can we help people get past like how much the housing cost is, and how much, because Pasadena has this beautiful, amazing city and town, and then when as we've starting to look for homes, right? We said, well, what if we decided to move to another area? Like, what if we decided to put our kids' education before our home? What would that look like? And it was, when I looked up where Pasadena ranks in the state of California, 148th. 148th in as far as that is concerned. And that, to me, I was like, wow. Now, they don't include like the private schools, because there are a lot of private schools here in town. But that was like, I looked at Pasadena, and then Temple City has they're in the top 12, right? And then you got La Cañada in the top 10, and Arcadia, right? Top 10.
Yeah.
San Marino, top 10. So surrounding areas are doing it, and those are public schools, right? but like the median cost of living in those areas also is like a home is like looking at some of these. So San Marino, like $1 million, La Cañada, $1 million, right? And
Yeah,
it's just
when you think about, like, you look at those places, of course, this is what we're talking about. If you live in a community, these are public schools. They should be open to everyone who's available to attend. However, if you live in a certain community, the median income in that community, the taxes being paid, not just taxes. If I'm a parent who, instead of sending my kid to a $20,000 a year private school, I can send them to this public school where all of my friends who make similar in a similar income bracket, we all send our kids there and we booster to the school. We make sure we put more of our money into the school. Yeah, you're going to have a school that's going to have all the resources it could possibly need. And I think that we think about, of course, like the biggest resource within a school is the teacher. But all those other things matter too. Like having a sports program that attracts kids and keeps kids interested in school, having opportunities to have multiple classes and a wide variety of different options so kids can find their interests. Those things matter in terms of keeping kids invested in school. And most public schools just can't afford those things, right? And so I think that the income piece is the major piece. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be places, of course, communities where you can build your wealth and live in those communities, but education shouldn't be tied to that. Education should be equal across the board. Kids in poor communities should be able to go wherever school they want to go to. Kids in affluent communities should be able to interact with kids from lower socioeconomic classes. And so all of those things are hurt by the fact that you have these separations based on income bracket, where you can go, what schools you can attend. And yeah, then you think of how big a role high school plays in what college you go to, and how big a role college plays into opportunities, like the kind of people you interact with and the opportunities you have after college. So yeah, it all just feeds into more and more of this unequal opportunities over time.
Social economic divide that has been in our country for centuries.
Yeah, and so when people talk about fixing the system, it's working as designed. So if we want to fix what we're seeing, we need a totally different system.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we're gonna be able.
I'm sorry, it's not a good answer.
I don't think we're gonna be able to solve that in this podcast.
No, right? Man, no. If we could, like, we'd be millionaires, man. That's where the money is, coming up with that answer.
We would have our starter homes the second time around.
Yeah, our kids would be in La Cañada schools.
Let's go. So, I know you are. I feel like there are very few of us here. And when I say very few of us, I mean sport fans.
I thought you meant black men. I was going, yeah.
Well, I'm not, so I can't really speak to that. But the sport fans here at Pendulum, I feel like there really aren't that many. Mm-hmm. And you are a big sport fan. Who are some of your teams?
Oh, man, I love, when it comes to baseball and hockey, hometown. So St. Louis Cardinals, St. Louis Blues. Love them, grew up rooting for them, and it's still just kind of connection back to home to root for those teams, you in Michigan football.
I mean, like, I've got my helmet right here, and then the GOAT behind you.
Oh, Barry Sanders?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you just now see that?
I thought I was gonna turn around and see like Harbaugh back there.
Oh no, it's not that bad.
But yeah, I mean, past that, St. Louis doesn't have a basketball team. Mm-hmm. So when I moved to Miami, that was my first basketball city. So went to a lot of Heat games. Still root for the Heat. Love the Heat. Then moved to LA and just kind of kept it going, man. Like, I don't understand how you can live in a city with two basketball teams and not root for both basketball teams, but I didn't grow up here, so I love both of those teams, man. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much, I used to root a lot for my St. Louis Rams.
I was going to bring that up. You didn't even mention the Rams.
Yeah, they really kicked us on the way out the door, man. They really says some really rude things about the city, especially Stan Kroenke, the owner, man. Terrible dude. So, good luck with that, LA. When I was in college, I wrote parking tickets. And I wrote, which is a whole other podcast.
We've got 3 other follow-up podcasts within the next year with Brian Perry.
I wrote Stan Kroenke's son parking ticket. And they came to get his car, tow his car. And he just threw the biggest hissy fit and just went nuts on everybody. So, like, my relationship with the Kroenkes has always just been rooted in just despising, man. Like, I just can't stand that family. So, yeah, they take their team away from my city and talk trash about my city. I can't bring myself to root for them in LA.
I understand.
It's very hard to people understand, though. People ask me about it all the time.
Well, I mean, the only reason why I have an idea of what that is like is because of the Browns. And knowing that when the Browns were ripped out of Cleveland, I mean, like, taking the Browns away from Cleveland is...
That's still kind of crazy to think about.
Right. I mean, so much so that the NFL was like, yeah, Art Modell really screwed up. Because now look at how many times that the Ravens went on to be these really good teams.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, like, it's only a matter of time till they win another one with Lamar Jackson because he's special. So.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is just like dysfunctional Browns too.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they picked Baker Mayfield. They had a chance at Lamar. They blew it.
Baker Mayfield isn't the real deal? Like, he just like, so here's the thing is that, like, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson went out, got better, right? Practiced, did the whole thing. And then you have Baker, who went out and did all the commercials.
Yeah.
Who had a better year too?
Well, I mean,
it's pretty clear.
Yeah, both of those other guys.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, but I think that Baker also is fighting against just nature, man. He's a smaller guy.
Yeah.
Like, different type of athlete, like Lamar Jackson and Mahomes, they're freaks, man. He's not a freak. He's smart.
Yeah.
He seems to have a good arm, but he's not those guys.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
So he has to do a lot more work, and
that's it.
They're outpacing him, man.
That's it. So and then, like, so because the Pistons are my hometown team, right? And
I haven't seen a Blake Griffin jersey in here.
I can bring in a Chauncey Billups jersey. I don't want a Blake jersey. Let's just be clear about that. But I am, so unfortunately I'm a Pistons fan, but I'm a big LeBron fan. So when like LeBron came to LA, like that was like, I was like, okay, I can stomach the Lakers. But seeing what the Clippers now have, I mean, that's rewriting the script with those two players. Like, they're special. The team has a different edge with Beverly. Like, I love that dynamic of Beverly, right? Like, I think that's really, really fun.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think there's a whole lot of bad boys in the league anymore.
Nah, everybody's friends now. Everybody's friends. But, I mean, that comes with, there's some good things about that in the sense that you see guys teaming up more, so we get, like, all-star game teams now
right?
playing every night. But, yeah, there's nobody who, well, I take that back. There are only a few teams who are universally hated where people kind of get up and ready to play them. And it's
such
probably
as?
Just Houston. Like, everybody hates Houston.
Why is that?
Because of the way they play, Like, constant three-pointers. Like, nobody likes playing against or watching a team that just shoots. Just shoot. And the fact that Harden is just kind of like, he's found like this cheat mode in the game that's not cheating. It works for him, and it's hard to stop. And, yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, that team. And they just complain a lot. Now teams hate them because of the whole China thing.
Right.
They feel they brought that onto the league. And so, yeah, there's a lot of reasons to dislike the Rockets. And you get Russell Westbrook, who is also an easy player to dislike.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have any feelings towards him, but I could definitely see why they are so disliked. I don't like watching their games. Like, I don't watch
yeah,
their games.
So I played at Christmas time. I played NBA 2K with my nephews, and it never dawned on me to pick James Harden.
Man, because he's
Isn't that
not
crazy?
Yeah, because there's something about him that doesn't make you even think of him when you think like the top players in the league. I think it's because we watch him play, and he shoots so many free throws, and just a lot of his shots just seem like really bad shots. So you see somebody like Giannis, who's just kind of a beast, who's taking high percentage shots. LeBron, who's
Makes his entire team better.
Yeah, his 17th season, he's leading the league in assists. Like, he's making his team better. He takes smart shots, does things the right way. So, I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to look at Harden and put him in that upper echelon.
Yeah.
He's still in that second tier with your Westbrooks, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, like I said, I can't say much about my Pistons because Blake Griffin, I think he spent more time on the pine than he has actually played a game.
They're supposed to be good this year, though. They're supposed to go.
They were supposed to beat their 8th seed of last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're supposed to be in the playoffs. They're supposed to be like in that top 5 group. But it's still
in
time.
the East, yeah, it's not happening. Like
it's a lot of time after the All-Star break.
Unless they trade away, right? That's the only way. And at that point, like, you're not really getting anybody back, and that's a bloated contract. The next up is Andre Drummond, and then at that point, you give up your future. So
yeah, they got to rebuild.
Yep. So I wanted to 4 years ago when you came through. I'm gonna switch gears here. 4 years ago when you came through here, you were originally at Equinox.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it, but yeah.
The dark ages before CrossFit.
It just makes me feel like super bougie, man. Like it's not that amazing, but it feels like we talk about it, people just go like put their pinkies up, man.
Oh. But so you did that, but you also found this love of running.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And can you tell people, because the thing is that you have, in my opinion, grown into your body since you've been here. Because when you came in as this still a pretty skinny dude, right? And now we just know it like Perry's arms. Like they're hidden underneath, these clothes over here. But I mean, now he's got biceps, and
Hey.
that's, I'm just saying, like, if it's a rope climb day or pull-ups, here he comes.
Yeah, why don't we get more rope climbs planned in? That's why I get to show off, man, a little bit.
Jump halfway.
One of the few things tall, lanky people are good at in CrossFit.
That and deadlifts.
Yeah, you gotta have legs for that, though, But that's a whole other story.
That's a whole nother podcast. We're up to 4. So I want to know, to share your fitness journey with people that don't know, and you've had some setbacks and some things that have informed some decisions, and it's that to me is interesting, and I know that, but I want you to share that.
Yeah, man. To be honest, like thinking about it, I realized that in the career I chose and the life I lead, like I'm a very purpose-driven person, and so a lot of times I would find myself very bored with all of my fitness choices. And in hindsight now, what I'm realizing is that was because I didn't see the full scope of why I was doing what I was doing. And I didn't have like a lot of meaning attached to the things I was doing. I was just kind of doing things I knew I should do to be healthy, right? So when I first moved to LA, I joined 24 Hour Fitness over in Altadena. And I was there for a while. And when I left, I was feeling very, very. I didn't have any motivation to go, and so I realized I needed something different. I went and visited Equinox, and there was some novelty to it, of course. I think.
Sure.
I mean, I kind of feel like every fitness routine should have some degree of novelty, right? And so there was some novelty to it, and I was really into it for a while. But then the same thing started happening. Started getting bored. And they have classes and everything there for you to take, but the classes there are more geared towards a person who just wants to move, like, and there's a lack of intensity there. And there's something I didn't know I was missing until I went to a couple of Nike workouts. Nike was hosting workouts in Culver City. They would be like at night, and you would go and they'd have like different stations set up. They have all these Nike master trainers there. And the types of things we were doing there, I would drive to Culver City once a week to do these workouts from Alcina. And I was very into it. And when they ended them, I just knew I had to find a way to keep it going. And so after talking to some people, I realized what we were doing was very CrossFit based, because I hadn't really heard I knew about CrossFit, but I knew it in a way that it was just kind of like throwing heavy weights around in a dangerous way, right? Just all the misconceptions of it. And so I decided then, after doing those workouts, like, hey, this is actually something that really interests me, because, I was going to the gym doing my 3 sets of 10, all those things, and
with a 3-minute break in between.
Yep, 3 sets of 10. Working out for an hour, doing like 15 minutes of work.
Scrolling. So.
Yeah, but so I went in. I went and did some research about just like different gyms in the area, and Pendulum just kind of stuck with me because we've talked about this, because of just like the website design, and then like the look of the gym. Proximity was important to me, but not super important to me, so I was willing to travel. But luckily, Pendulum was fairly close. And so, like, I found it on like a Saturday morning, and of course it was after the gym had closed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna go over and check it out. And I got there, I was like, how's the gym closed on a Saturday afternoon? So I was like on pins and needles, just waiting. Monday morning, like, I called you.
Yeah.
It left a voicemail like, hey, can I come in and check it out? And I remember specifically it was Veterans Day, because I had a day off from work. And so came in on Veterans Day, and we had that first meeting. I saw the gym, met Johnny.
Yeah.
Set up for 101. And I've been hooked since then, because I just realized at that moment that I thought I was getting in shape and becoming more fit, but it was something that I couldn't do on my own. Like, I couldn't figure out, like, I couldn't push myself to do things that I didn't like, and I couldn't push myself to do things I didn't know about. So being here just really taught me how to do those things, and taught me how to push myself in ways I never really would have even considered, right? Around the same time, so that was in November 2015. Around September 2015, I was still at Equinox, still very bored. And I found a run group, Black Men Run, which was, I had never really considered distance running. I ran track a little bit in high school, and I was interested in running, but not necessarily distance running, because I never thought it was something I could do. And then to see this organization with other people who looked like me doing it, I was like, I want to be a part of it. So I started just by like going out and running the Rose Bowl, like not even. I'd make it like half a mile and I'd be walking, and another half a mile and I'd be walking. And so, I started really just getting into it. And by the time I came here, I already run my first 5K. So the combination of those two things, running, which is for me such a release now, like it's a way for me to just have time by myself to think about the things in my life, and also just kind of like just be outside. Like, I don't spend a whole lot of time outside. So having that combined with like just the kind of intensity of CrossFit, but not just the intensity, but also just the constant growth of CrossFit, it's really helped me, because it's kind of helped me figure out just like how to pace and measure growth in all parts of my life.
Right.
So it's actually these two things together just taught me a lot about myself in the process. So that's pretty much it, man. Now, I've had a couple bumps over the past couple years, but I feel like I'm in the right place and doing the right things finally for my body.
So I think what makes that really kind of special is that, one, when you found the run group, you understood that belonging to a group of people was important to you. That was one. Two is that then when you went out to run, you didn't expect yourself to run at, a sub 2 hour marathon pace. It was like, all right, I'm going to run a mile. I'm going to walk a bit. Right. And then because the thing that most people do when they struggle with running or even just cardio components is that they have this expectation that they can be able to do it with where they're wanting to be, not with where they're at.
Yeah.
And if we could get more people to understand and embrace where they're at, then we can actually start to have real lasting change. Because then from there, it's like, got it. Okay, I'm struggling on this part here with my fitness. I can let me just show up 3 times this week. Cool. Get 3 times down. Next week, 4 times. Oh man, and this becomes, instead of coming out the gate, I'm gonna come out hot. Like, I'm gonna go every single day this week. You can't handle that. Like if you're brand new to it.
Man, to be honest, that's something that I realized early in running, but it actually took tearing my Achilles to teach me that about CrossFit. I feel like eliminating the ego in CrossFit was very difficult for me. And so, it took a major thing happening and just kind of like forced me to just take stock and be realistic about what I can do and what my body's capable of versus what other people can do and what other people are able to just knock out in 1 hour versus what I can, So that's I wish I'd known that. I wish I could say that I had that wisdom about CrossFit right away, but that actually took me some time.
So that was when you were going through your Achilles process, you were playing basketball when that happened.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to kind of impart to people that are listening or watching is that CrossFit, basketball, whatever that is that you're doing that ends up, it was when I jumped, came down this rebound, and boom, there it goes. It was never that moment that caused that thing. It was all of the other stuff of years of things that maybe you didn't stretch afterwards, right? Maybe you didn't cool down. Maybe it's like, I'm fine. No warm up, just right into the thing. Or maybe we weren't measuring our stress levels. And I'm not accusing you of any of these things, but this is the thing that when I sit down with people and I help them understand, like, you have pre-existing conditions, right? Everybody has a pre-existing condition that this is their body that they're given, right? I've got an arch in my back, right? People are like, you have back pain? No. Just my body is like, it's becoming like an anatomical defect that my body has adjusted. Kardashians pay for this implant. I don't. I've just got it. But so that's an anatomical defect on my end. That the next thing is then stress, diet, and sleep ends up being the thing that is the next step. And you have a very stressful job, right? That plays a factor into it. Diet, how's your diet doing? Are we eating the right foods? How much of the right foods? Is it enough? Is it not? Right? So those things come into play. Then your sleep. Sleep is where we recover. That's where our body restores and repairs itself. That's why people take steroids so that they can speed up that recovery process so that their muscles can grow. That's why steroids work. So it's speeding up that process. And what happens is that if we can manage that, what we call SDS, we can manage that and trim that down, then that leads to the next part of what is called functional diagnosis. Functional diagnosis is the stuff that we recognize as coaches in you as your movement. Hey, so I noticed that when you do this, your knees come out in front of your toes instead of when you're doing your push press. And then what I would like to see you do is go straight down. So if we realize that there's some limitations in your movement, then that's the next part. When we look at this entire thing, and then the next layer of that is your work, right? So when we take all of that stuff in, and then somebody decides to go out play basketball, and then they get hurt, right? because the thing is that as much as we love sport, we love watching it, we love playing it, we love doing these things, we are still just like any of those professional athletes that still get hurt. And but their load and their capacity line is different than ours because they've trained for that. And now they just have human beings running into them at high power output. So that's how they get hurt.
Yeah.
But it's still the same way on how that happens. And that's something that then I think that's what the Achilles ended up forcing you to understand, like, oh, there's a different way that I kind of have to attack this now.
Yeah, man. Like I'm not glad I tore my Achilles in no way. Like I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I've learned so much from it that I can't look at it as any other thing than a blessing and its timing. You know what I mean? Because at that point, I was really focused on being more fit. And I thought the way to do that was to just be more active, you know? And so even if I hadn't torn it playing basketball, I would have torn it at some point doing something because I was...
Maybe a box jump.
Yeah, because I was overworking my body. I wasn't stretching, dehydrated, not getting... I mean, I was averaging like around 4 hours of sleep a night at the most.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I was averaging around 4 hours of sleep, man, because I was getting up and running in the morning. So I was getting up at 4:30 and running in the mornings. So it was in hindsight just the worst thing I could do to my body, just put it under constant stress and not give it any recovery. And so after I tore it, man, like I realized like because I had goals in order to like, I wanted to just get my fitness in tune by the fall, and this was in May, right? And so after I tore it, I realized like, well, you're not gonna be able to go to the gym, you're not gonna be able to do certain things, so you're gonna have to do this solely through diet. And yeah, that was it.
You're like,
it just helped. Well, it's taught me a bunch of things. One major thing was just that fitness is about working out, but like weight loss and health is about nutrition.
Yeah.
And so in order to improve my fitness, in order to be able to improve my fitness, I had to have solid nutrition. And the only way I was going to lose weight and to reach my goals was by having solid nutrition. Fitness was just the kind of the cherry on top of the cake, you know? And so it taught me to just really focus on that piece, but then also like looking at my rest. You're absolutely right. Like rest is terrible. I get way more sleep now, way more. I mean, like now I average about 6 hours of sleep a night.
But that too, right? If we take those two over a course of a week, that's 14 more hours that you're getting now that you weren't getting. 14 hours is it's almost like it's 2 days more of sleep than what you were getting.
Yeah. And, like other things like I tried to use Ramwad before. I'm just not a yoga person. Like I've tried it.
It's fine.
It's not for me. I started using Go Mobility Wad, which is a little bit different. It's not yoga. It's just really stretching. And yeah, like I feel like a whole other person because I didn't realize my body needed to stretch the way it needed to stretch. And that part of that's age, but part of it's just like seeing the results of other people and not seeing the work of other people. So I was measuring my output by other people's output, but not seeing the other things they were doing behind closed doors. And so I realized that, yeah, everybody needs to mobilize. It's not just you. Like everybody needs to take days off. It's not just you. Like everybody needs to constantly be drinking water. It's not just you. And so just really focusing on the fact that this is just something that's normal for the body that I wasn't doing for mine. And so there's nothing or anybody to blame for my Achilles tear besides me. Like it had to happen in order to get me to change what I was doing.
Yeah. I think that is really powerful. And I know for me and my family, and even for Chris, we're just like everybody else. Like we gain weight, we hire coaches, we work with people. I worked with my nutrition coach to lose my weight. And that was a huge aha moment for me. because I had some aches and pains and things like that, and I couldn't train as hard. And so I just put my focus into my nutrition. It's like, oh, look at that. It's pretty amazing. And then,
Yeah.
and it's like that the nutrition is the thing that allows for you to train harder in the gym, right?
Yeah.
When you're here, and then the fitness is the expression of your nutrition.
Yeah.
And that
I didn't
is-
realize I was so exhausted all the time. Not because I was tired, but because I had eaten one meal in 10 hours.
Yeah. And then you're like, but I got to get to the gym and work out.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's, and that's really like, if you are, not you, but just if you are listening to this and you are not sleeping 6 hours a day, like, you should not be coming into the gym and working out. Like, you should get your food in check. You should get your sleep in check. And then once you get that stuff dialed in, like, we can help you with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we can help you on that side. But the fitness is like, you're almost putting your body at a greater deficit that it just keeps getting broken down, and it doesn't ever get a chance to repair.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I think is really, really hard for people, because, and I explained this to our staff earlier today, is that people can hold on to fitness in the fact that they showed up, right? They can't it's not a tangible thing where they can actually feel it or touch it, right? It's, you see the change, right? And that's why it's really hard for people to justify spending the money to join, because they can't see it, right? But they can imagine what that would be like.
Yeah.
So if you can start going, okay, this is a process that is going to take time, and it's not going to be transformative like overnight. It's going to be slow. It's going to be progressive. And then by the end of it, you'll look back and be like, who's this guy? And if
Yeah.
you can start to fall in love with that process, it is then something that you can do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, man. And the to go back to the Achilles piece and how it ties in all this, like, the rehab process really taught me a lot. I mean, outside of the things I just mentioned with nutrition and sleep and just mobility, it taught me a lot about how to be a better crossfitter. You know, like, I would come in to try to do every workout RX, right? And I feel like if I wasn't doing a workout RX, I was failing that day. Like, I need to work on, I had to get like a 115-pound thruster because I need to do this RX.
Sure.
And a lot of that was just ego. You know, I didn't want to scale. And I can't really, to be honest, can't really explain why. Like, it's not like there's pressure in the gym for everybody. It's just like, I don't know, mostly probably my internal just competitiveness, you know?
Sure. That's also equally part of the beauty of RX and the thing that I hate about RX.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, there's the reason, all the good parts of RX is helping people understand, like, this is the stimulus, this is the intent, right? And we will do our best to try and keep people from letting their ego get in the way and be like, I can do that today. We want to help you, give you the right stimulus, the right intent, the right purpose.
Right.
But-
When I came in during that rehab period, which people were surprised I was here
Right.
with with the Achilles hanging off the bone. But, you know, it really just helped me to be able to move and to just kind of like believe that there's going to be an end to the rehab process. And I was forced to scale so much, and I still saw results. And so it just
Yeah.
kind of helped me see that, yeah, like, it's okay for me to come in and work out based on how I feel and how my body feels. You know, like, if I feel like my hamstrings are super tight, no, you shouldn't do 70 box jumps. You should probably do fewer. You should probably scale it.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a reality that, honestly, just being injured pushed me towards. But now I practice all the time. Like, I'll come in and I'll look at the workout and go, okay, well, my body's feeling most of that today, but that one thing, I probably had to scale that.
And
Right?
that's,
And that's fine. I still move. I'm getting stronger every day, and it hasn't impacted it, you know?
it's a collective, what we're looking for is a collective amount of workouts
Yeah.
over the course of a year. And you look back, get the Wodify printout, and it's like, cool, I had over 200 plus workouts this year.
Yeah.
I'm confident that there was significant change in that process. You know what I mean? And that's the part that I'm interested in. That's the part that I'm excited about for you guys, is that it's like, that is where true change happens, because you came in day after day after day, and it was like, cool. Because I do it. Like yesterday, for example, we had the back squat and then it was chest to bar pull-ups, thrust, front squats, and then burpee over bar. And that whole entire workout was, I just came back from New York. I was feeling some things. I did not feel that great. And so what was enough for me? Half of that.
Yeah.
I was done. I was called for 8 rounds. I did 4. And that was enough for me that day.
It's like your body feels the stimulus it needs to feel. Your muscles get activated.
It was, guess what? Am I sore today? Yep. Would I have been destroyed today?
Yeah.
That, and being destroyed doesn't help anything, right? You went too hard at that point, right? And that's the thing, is that like, all we need is adaptation in order to change. We just need more adaptation than homeostasis in order to create change. Not the absolute, I'm decimated, I feel awful, like lying in a puddle of sweat. Like that's going to happen. That's going to come. But what we're looking for is change over every day. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's really changed my approach. You know, like you know, there's things in CrossFit that are my favorite things to do. You can probably think of like thrusters and wall balls and anything squatty. And yeah, like having to go through the rehab process and knowing my body is physically capable of doing things, my brain won't allow me to do it. Right? Just help me to understand just how much of what thinking about what I can and can't do is just in my head.
Yeah.
Right? It's not in my ability. And so it's really pushed me to push myself more in the right spots. Right?
Yeah.
Being very intelligent about it, and just thinking about my body and just pushing myself in ways that I know I can. And not just going, oh yeah, I can't do that right now.
Right.
I can't do. So I don't want to like make it seem like, you know, every day I come in, I'm just like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like, I'm still pushing myself. But it's just really figuring out the right spots to do so, and really pushing from that point, because there's times when I'll push to a certain point and go like, that's enough. Whereas now I know that my body's capable of a whole lot more if I take care of it. So I know exactly how to push it and how to push through those mental blocks, man, to just really tell your brain, telling you that something isn't working. Like, my brain treats my left Achilles very differently than the rest of my body now. Like, it tells me that I can't necessarily go on my toes when I know I can. And so once I keep doing it over and over again, it finally feels normal again. Like a lot of the things we do, like finding the landing for when we do cleans and snatches, finding the landing for my feet is something that I can't feel it the same anymore. But I just know it's going to take practice and just keep pushing it.
It's reps.
Not just giving up on it, you know?
Yeah.
So it just taught me to push through and persevere in a way that I don't know too many other things that would have taught me that lesson.
Yeah.
You know? So, like I said, I'm not happy it happened, but it's definitely been a benefit to my life in the long term. You know.
It's cool. Well, I think that's where we should end it. I think that's really, really positive stuff, really powerful stuff. That if you're listening or watching, you don't have to tear your Achilles in order to experience this.
Don't tear your Achilles. I'm approaching my 9th month of rehab.
Yeah.
So it's a long rehab. You don't want to have to do it. So stretch.
Yep.
Drink water. Get some sleep.
Get some sleep. Eat better.
Yeah.
Listen to your coach. Don't do RX. You want to go night-night?
I remember I came in one day and I saw like the thruster up there for RX, and I was like, oh man, it feels good to be able to make a smart choice instead of like doing two thrusters and then panting for 5 minutes and then doing 2 more. So
Hey, you all right?
I mean, you see me now, most of the time just like kind of smiling during workouts.
Yeah.
It's tough, but Now
It's
I've been
larger
able,
than that now.
And I've also been able to just find fun in it again.
Yeah.
Like it was once I put the stress on myself for it, that it wasn't as fun, and now I feel like I have that enjoyment of it back again.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
At the gym.
On the gram.
I'm on social media. You know I don't post a whole lot though. So,
It's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, you can find me at Perry for the People.
But Perry for the People, one of the great handles of all time. Yeah, so Perry, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, man. I hope I wasn't super boring, and I know that some people are gonna skip through my sports talk, but that's okay.
Hey, the sports talk. That's I brought that up because I think that that's really interesting, at least for me, and I know that there's like 5 other people in the gym who like that. So,
Yeah, go. I guess I'm rooting for the Chiefs. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. So, all right. So this is gonna air after the Super Bowl. Who you picking?
Picking the Chiefs. Mainly because I hate the 49ers.
Wow.
Yeah. All those years of Ken Norton Jr. beating up on those, the pylon.
Yeah, right.
Not the pylon, beating up on the crossbar, whatever, in the end zone. Like when the Rams first moved to St. Louis, just beating us by like 40 points. So yeah, never got over it. So no success for the 49ers, please.
Cool. I think it would be really cool to see Andy Reid win. I don't think Andy Reid will win.
Oh.
I mean, like, come on.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
We'll see. So with that, I'll say the Niners because of their D, not Jimmy Garoppolo because of their D.
We gotta get a friendly wager going on that then.
We're gonna make this off the air so my wife doesn't hear. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till next week. I hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, live life in motion.